Hello, good afternoon and welcome to Midday Live on TV3 with me, AC Benewanyami. To the headlines now. All sides from Nkonya and Alavanyo in the Volta region in exchange of gunshots. Meanwhile, Volta Regional Minister leads delegation to the area. We will bring you more on that. Program manager of the National Malaria Control Program refutes claims malaria is still the leading case recorded at OPDs at the various hospitals. And in international news, UN refugee agencies say more than 11,000 Congolese have fled Democratic Republic of Congo's Kasai province to neighboring Angola. Details of these, including sports and entertainment, all coming up in the next 1 hour. This is Midday Live. Stay with us. Let's move on to our very first story. And there have been incessant gunshots crying through the two rival communities in the Volta region. That's Alavanyo and Nkonya since Friday evening. The gunmen, according to our reporter, took positions on the Toze Mountain, separating Nkonya from Alavanyo. The Volta Regional Minister, Dr. Archibald is leading a delegation to Nkonya and Alavanyo to assess situation following the killing of two persons this week. The two dead persons from Nkonya Ahenkro were tapping palm wine close to the town when they were shot. Two victims reportedly died on the spot, but the third was rushed to the Volta Regional Hospital, where he is currently receiving attention. The Nkonya-Alavanyo conflict have been a perennial one dating back as 1923 over land disputes. Since then, it lingered on and almost becoming an annual affair. According to the residents, the police declined to visit the crime scene to retrieve the remains of the deceased and even the injured, who at the time was in a critical condition, citing insecurity. Well, so let's move on. We'll bring you updates on this particular story. But before then, let's look at malaria. As on Tuesday, will mark World Malaria Day. And we have some UNICEF Ghana facts report on malaria. Let's look at this. And it says that 3.5 million people contract malaria every year, and approximately 20,000 children die from malaria every year. That's 25% of the deaths of children under 5. And so that is so worrying. 20,000 children. And they're saying that even if a child survives, so out of this, even if a child survives, the consequences from severe malaria, such as convulsion or brain dysfunction, can hamper long-term development and schooling. And also, annual economic burden of malaria is estimated at 1 to 2% of GDP here in Ghana. Let's move on, get more on the UNICEF facts about malaria. And malaria-afflicted families, on average, can only harvest 40% of the crops harvested by healthy families. So, in case you are sick as a result of malaria, there's nothing more you can do for the family to survive. So, and also, malaria, we are told that malaria-stricken family spends on average of over 1/4 of its income on malaria treatment, as well as paying prevention costs and suffering loss of income. That is really worrying. And so, as usual, the education is that people should really take care of the environment and all the things that affects them regarding malaria. And Tuesday, 25th of April, is World Malaria Day. And the theme for the event or the day is to help stop malaria for good. Let's get more on this particular story. And the program manager of the National Malaria Control Program has refuted claims that malaria is still the leading case recorded at OPD at hospitals. Dr. Constance Batplanch says Ghana has made significant progress in its fight to end malaria, adding all cases presented at hospitals are treated as malaria, although they don't run tests to prove that. Dr. Batplanch says Ghana has been fighting malaria since pre-independence. Intervention programs during the 1990s were mostly indoor residual, aerial spraying and the use of chloroquine. Between 1996 and 1997, the focus remained accelerated malaria control through case management and prompt treatment. In 1998, the Rollback Malaria Initiative was adopted to look at both preventive and curative measures to fight malaria. But what has Ghana achieved with these programs?
Ghana in West Africa belonged to the zone where malaria was hyper-endemic. We were to bring it to the level when it's so low that now we begin to eliminate. Apart from 2 regions in the country where we can say that is truly hyper-endemic, all the other regions in Ghana, it is no longer hyper-endemic. Dr.
Batplanch expressed excitement about the successes chalked so far, but was worried all fever cases are treated as malaria.
It's only about 4% that are carrying the malaria parasite. And this is not only a survey thing I'm talking about. We have what you call sentinel sites, where the hospitals, they do screening, testing of all those who come. And it's turning out that it's about 4%.
She noted the insecticide-treated bed net still remains the most effective way of killing mosquitoes. Dr. Batplanch said all countries that rely on the ITNs are nearing elimination of malaria and urged usage. Funding plays key role in ensuring attainment of targets, but the program, she says, is challenged and have to strategize.
We are hoping that by the year 2020, we should be able to talk about starting elimination, because the goal is reduce the malaria by 75%.
There is relative calm at Agbogloshi following a feud between settlers of the slum communities days ago. 4 water cannons have been stationed in the area with 20 formed police unit personnel there to maintain law and order. My colleague Michael Ado Christopher is there and joins me for updates. Hello.
So 3 persons, including a pregnant woman, died following clashes at Agbogloshi in Accra last 2 weeks, with many others injured. Now, trading activities at the Agbogloshi Yam Market came to an abrupt end following the clashes between some factions among the slum dwellers. And we are here currently on Saturday, and we can see that calm has returned to this area, but we also have the formed police unit, 20 in number, all in shape also, and also conducting their normal search in the area. Also, we learned that 4 days ago they arrested one suspect trying to transport ammunition to the northern region, and he is currently in the grips of the police to help with investigation or further investigations. And also trading activities here has bounced back, and you can see the traders busily going about their trading activities here at the Agbogloshi Yam Market. So ethnic conflicts in this area is not new. In November 2014, a similar incident happened here at Agbogloshi. So currently here, the situation here is of a calm nature, and you can see the police also going about their normal routine checks to find out if really indeed some people are currently transporting some ammunitions from here to other parts of the country. So live from here at the Agbogloshi Yam Market, Michael Ado reporting for TV3 News.
Thanks, Michael Adu, for that update. Let's move on to some other stories. And Minister of Education has cautioned the newly constituted Governing Council of the Ghana Education Service to deal with circuit supervisors who collect monies from teachers before processing documents for their salary arrears. Dr. Matthew Opoku-Prempeh again asked the Governing Council to be proactive at ensuring prompt payment of teachers' salaries.
The Governing Council is expected to assist the Ministry of Education to redesign curricula at the basic education level. The Council is to also speed up the attainment of the free SHS, which is to be rolled out in September this year. The Governing Council is to facilitate teacher licensing and enforce code of discipline against teacher absenteeism. The Sector Minister, Dr. Matthew Opoku-Prempeh, asked the Council to deal with circuit supervisors who continually collect money from teachers before processing their documents.
The Ministry takes a very serious view of. I charge you and your fellow Council members to take this matter up as soon as possible and ensure that the practice is stamped out in order to preserve the integrity of the Ghana Education Service and the government payroll system.
He again asked members of the Council to facilitate teacher promotions and transfers in the Ghana Education Service. Chairman for the Council, Michael Nsowa, promised to address the concerns of the teachers.
We also resolve to work hard to ensure discipline in the education sector, because without discipline, all the good intentions of these good programs to improve the delivery of education will come to nothing.
The reconstituted Governing Council for the Ghana Institute of Management and Public Administration, GIMPA, was also sworn in. He asked the Council to work on student accommodation and resolve internal wrangling on the appointment of principals for the institution.
GIMPA's leaders must not disrupt academic work, progress, and fight over principal positions and leaderships. Much is therefore expected of the Council to deliver. You must be guided by fairness to all, transparency and accountability.
Chairman of the Council, Kofi Dakun Asante, pledged his commitment to set the institution on sound academic footing.
We shall work closely with the faculty, students and trainees, and the authorities to deepen the fusion between theory and practice.
The Minister of State in charge of tertiary education, Professor Kwesi Yankah, has reiterated the need for private partnership towards improving education in the country. Speaking at the induction ceremony for members of the Coup Scholarship Program, he urged private entities and individuals to invest in Ghana's educational system.
The Coup Scholars Program, which is an initiative of the John Agyekum Kufuor Foundation, provides a platform for young people to be trained in transformational leadership. The 3-year program offers the scholars an opportunity to be taken through mentorship and internship programs, workshops and leadership camps. The 2017 class of scholars, which numbered 20, were inducted at the ceremony in Accra. Addressing participants at the ceremony, playwright James Ebo-White asked them to mirror the leadership skills of former President John Agyekum Kufuor.
Reflect the man. He was not easy to be discouraged. Leave a legacy for your children to come and enjoy. Just as the former President Kufuor has left us a legacy for all of us to enjoy.
Minister of State in charge of tertiary education, Professor Kwesi Yankah, commended the John Agyekum Kufuor Foundation for its contribution towards tertiary education in Ghana.
Even though the cardinal themes of leadership, governance, and sustainable development around which the JK Foundation revolves, the preeminence of the theme of leadership among the three cannot be overemphasized. You need a certain caliber of human capital to drive the entire agenda of good governance and sustainable development.
Some of the scholars shared their expectations with TV3 as they embark on their 3-year journey.
Being named a Coup Scholar 2017 doesn't come, just on a silver platter. And so I'm looking to garnering a lot of experience and also knowing how to apply the creativity, the leadership prowess that I possess in solving problems.
I'm expecting them to help us as they are mentoring us in order to become effective leaders, in order to help our society and Ghana as a whole.
The program is also aimed at providing young people with the right mindset to transform the country.
To our very first business story, investment growth in sub-Saharan Africa has slowed over the past few years and is expected to continue if immediate steps are not taken to reverse it, according to a report by the World Bank. The Chief Executive Officer of the Africa Alliance Securities, Winston Nelson, says the only way to reverse the trend is for countries to revive their economies.
The disclosure follows a report by Africa's Pulse, a biannual analysis of the state of African economies conducted by the World Bank. The reports indicated a rebound in economic growth for sub-Saharan Africa. According to the report, economic growth in the region will reach 2.6%, far better than the 2016 figure, the lowest in over 2 decades. On the whole, investment growth slowed drastically to 0.6% in 2015 from 8% recorded in 2014. Winston Nelson says the development is as a result of weak growth in many sub-Saharan countries, including Ghana.
Naturally, an investor who has a global view would not necessarily take his money to a place which is not promising the returns that they want to. They would just look at opportunities at home and invest. So that also took away some of the shine on the African story, and most investors started to look maybe back to Europe.
So how do countries such as Ghana attract private sector investments to oil their economies?
If we can get the economies growing back, return is a beautiful thing. I think the magical thing is to go through the reforms that would make Africa start to grow again. Let's take Ghana, for example. If we can record 7% growth in 2 consecutive years, believe you me, in the 3rd year, the story will be different.
An economist at the Institute of Fiscal Studies, Edu Sarkodie, has recommended a focus on growing the economy to sustain debts to GDP ratio, following the recent announcement by the International Monetary Fund, IMF, that Ghana will achieve a 71.7% debt to GDP ratio before the close of 2017. Edu Sarkodie says effective policies in the agric and industrial sectors could be a key reducing Ghana's debts stock.
IMF Fiscal Monetary Report has predicted Ghana is likely to end 2017 without significant progress in reducing its public debt. Ghana's debt stock at the end of 2016 stood at 122 billion cedis, translating into 72.4% of GDP. Government debt management strategy expects the debt situation to reduce to 70% before close of year. An economist with IFS, Edu Sarkodie, says government can achieve its target if it effectively implements some key projects, including the One District, One Factory and Planting for Food and Jobs program.
Once we grow the economy, the debt to GDP ratio will come down. Remember that when we rebased the economy in 2010, we rebased the economy and increased the GDP. That is how come the debt to GDP ratio came down.
Ghana plans to raise some 17.4 billion Ghana cedis worth of domestic instruments in the first quarter of 2017 for debt restructuring and government financing. Already, government has borrowed 13.5 billion cedis as part of a strategy to replace short-term loans with longer-term ones.
For us to have a lower debt level, we must pay it. We find ourselves in a debt distress, so government cannot be borrowing as much as the previous government used to.
Government expects to spend over 10 billion cedis in servicing interest on loans as captured in the 2017 budget. The IMF has already classified Ghana as a high-risk debt distress country following the country's rising debt stock.
The average interest rate on customer loans has dropped by 0.9%. Industry average for loans and advances at the end of March dropped to 26.7% from February's rate of 26.9%, another drop of 0.9% from month-end January 2017.
The central bank's latest monthly annual percentage rate and average interest report surveyed 31 banks. The report is part of the central bank's effort to promote transparency in the pricing and provision of banking services. The industry average for loans and advances at the end of March dropped to 26.7% from February's rate of 26.9%, a drop of 0.9% from month-end January 2017. Access Bank offered the highest interest rate of 16.4% on customer deposits as at end of March this year. Standard Chartered Bank, however, emerged as the bank with the lowest interest charged on loans and advances for the same period. Its base rate is at 16.1%. The Bank of Baroda offered an average of 17% interest on loans and advances. Barclays Bank is also very competitive on interest on both deposits, loans and advances, with a base rate of 19.1% and interest on deposits of 10.4%. The report shows that Ghanaian-owned banks charge relatively high interest on loans compared to the international banks operating in the country. With about 17 of the banks not offering vehicle loans and the average industry rate being 34.2%, the reports from the central bank showed that the Bank of Baroda offered the lowest interest to customers who were willing to access a loan to purchase a vehicle. Its base rate is quoted between 22 to 28%. Stanbic Bank also offers vehicle loan at an interest of 28.3%. The average interest rates for the agriculture industry is 33%, with ADB, a bank initially set up to offer financing to the agricultural sector, offering a base interest of 35.6% on all loans and advances to the sector.
Let's bring you updates from what is happening in Alavanyo and in Konya areas. And there have been incessant gunshots between the two rivalry communities of Alavanyo and in Konya in the Volta region since Friday evening. The gunmen, according to our reporter, took positions on the Toze mountain separating in Konya from Alavanyo. The Volta Regional Minister, Dr. Archibald Lecha, is leading a delegation to Nkonya and Alavanyo to assess the situation following the killing of two persons this week. And I have on the line Peter Kwao Adato, and he is a senior reporter here at TV3. He joins me via phone. Good afternoon, Peter, and thanks for your time. So, what can you report? What is happening there now?
Currently, there has been renewed firing from yesterday afternoon, and my understanding this morning is that around 5 p.m. some gunmen descended from the mountain towards one of the Nkonya community called Time, and started firing into the community. They hit one girl who was sent to go and buy sugar for the mother, and she died instantly. So that called for the renewed firing throughout the night, and this morning the firing only ceased around 9 a.m. morning.
Well, Peter, we know that looking at the situation, there is heavy police and as to the renewed shooting. There
is no arrest so far since the thing started last Wednesday. There has been no arrest. The problem is that the two communities are unwilling to give the police, the military, and everybody working to resolve the issue information, relevant information as to who and who are involved in the shooting. And so, even though the police are here, the military are here, they have difficulty identifying anything. They don't know where the people are coming from. The only thing they can do is to fire back. They have to restrain the people from going deeper than where they were located before they start firing. Apart from that, there was no support from the two communities. The Nkonyas are not willing to give the security information. the Alavanus are not willing to give security information. They are all complaining, blaming each other on the same issue, yet nobody is willing to give the information to help the police identify the perpetrators and to do anything. And that is the major problem here, AC.
Well, Peter, before I let you go, you have been touring, going around the areas. What is the general mood there like?
The atmosphere, I can say, is there's uneasy calm. There's so much tension around this area. People are so nervous. They can't go to their farms. The Nkunyes cannot go to their farm. The Alavanyos cannot go to their farm because they fear when they go, somebody can hide anywhere and shoot at them. And so that is the problem. It has affected livelihoods in these two communities, the Nkunyas, both the Nkunyas and the Alavanyos. They have this problem. They can't go to their farms to work because we don't know when and where the gunman is coming from to fire at you.
Well, fine. We know that the Volta Regional Minister, Dr. Archibald Lecha, is leading a delegation to these two areas. Do you have any information on that?
Yes, I met them. I've interviewed the regional minister after he has had a closed-door meeting with the paramount chief of Amfuega. They said they are doing everything possible to ensure that peace returns to the area, and he appealed passionately to the two communities to endeavor to give information to the police so that they can identify the culprits in these cases and deal with them.
Well, thanks so much, Peter Kwao Adato, a senior reporter with TV3, bringing us up to speed on happenings in Alavanyo and in Konya. We'll get back to you in our subsequent bulletins for more. This is still Midday Live. The government has announced that it will pay all amounts owed providers under the National Health Insurance Scheme by close of this week or early next week. Minister of Health Kweku Ajiman Menu revealed this at the ministry's annual summit in Kumasi over the week. He indicated that government was hoping to undertake monthly releases to cater for the cost of health provision under the scheme. Henceforth, members of the Health Insurance Service Providers Association of Ghana, HISPAC, have threatened to start cash and carry by Wednesday if monies owed members did not reach their accounts. They complained creditors and bankers have taken legal action against members for non-payment. Let's get Dr. Peter Yeboah, who is the Executive Director of the Christian Health Association of Ghana. Hello, good afternoon, sir, and thanks for your time. Hello. Hello, Mr. Yeboah. Thanks for your time.
Hello.
Yes, okay. So, Mr. Yeboah, if you can hear me, thanks so much for your time.
Welcome, madam.
Well, so we want to find out from you. Thus, the call from the minister is welcome news for your association.
Well, good afternoon to your listeners. As you may be aware, the National Health Insurance Scheme owes providers to the tune of 2 billion cedis over a period of 12 months. And for the Christian Health Association of Ghana, the scheme owes that association to the tune of over 200 million cedis. Now, and this spans over 12 solid months. So the minister's intervention or reimbursement plan, whilst we appreciate, I mean, we see it as piecemeal, they do not go far enough to not address the critical challenges that has confronted service providers for over 12 solid months. We would prefer that the NHI makes significant and substantial reimbursement to enable providers procure essential life-saving medicines, pay bills, pay outstanding loans with credits that we have contracted from banking institutions. I really think that this critical situation that has confronted health service providers must be addressed with sense of urgency and with sense of priority. These piecemeal token reimbursement plan, I'm afraid, do not go far enough to address the challenges that have confronted service providers for 12 solid months. I think we are in a critical situation, and critical situation demands or requires significant interventions to address challenges.
Well, so looking at the 12 months, with regards to what the minister has said, how much is the minister paying, for example, Chag?
Yes, we understand the minister's plan that that by next week there will be payment. I mean, for 2016, May 2016, a 1-month pay for service providers, and then subsequently there will be certain payments to be made by end of May or June, not too definite, meaning that by next week we will only be paid 1 month reimbursement, and then subsequently certain things that are not very clear, and then others will follow. I think while these measures probably fine or appropriate to the minister, service providers, they do not go far enough. They will not address the chronic challenges that has bedeviled the health system. They will not in any way assist in procuring essential life-saving medicines. They will not in any way ensure that the health system regains the confidence that it has lost for 12 solid months. So I really think that there must be different perspective, different paradigm of addressing this situation in the short term by paying significant outstanding debts and service providers. While together, we see how we can sustainably address the challenges confronting the National Health Insurance Scheme to make it more efficient, robust, full to Ghanaian.
Well, so looking at the current plan by the minister to pay the service provider, it means that it will not, support you in any way, and so the issue about cash and carry definitely will come back very soon.
That is the situation we must all avoid. As I've already said, that
are we getting to that?
Well, we do not hope that we will arrive at that level, because that is definitely an avoidable situation that the government should assist service providers in avoiding that. Because remember, every delay in the reimbursement of arrears means that avoidable loss of life. Okay. It means that our inability to address healthcare needs of pregnant men, children, and the aged. Cash and carry is something that must be avoided, and the situation as it is probably leading to that endpoint, which is definitely not desirable for Ghanaians. Look,
well, but looking at the amount that government owes, or the NHIA owes, and looking at the amount that will be paid to you, you have rightly said that is woefully inadequate. So it means that definitely in the coming weeks we are going to experience cash and carry at the various hospitals.
We do not hope. The Christian Health Association of Ghana do not subscribe to cash and carry system. And that is why we continue to encourage the government, or to call upon the government and all stakeholders to ensure that the government significantly reimburse service providers in such a way that they will have essential medicines to make essential life-saving care to mothers and children. Cash and carry means that artificial barriers to healthcare services. Okay. It means that the poor, the needy, the marginalized, the aged would be deprived of essential basic health care. And that is why, for over 12 solid years, the National Health Insurance Scheme has been seen as the best poverty alleviation intervention Ghana has ever had. The social intervention strategy that ought to be supported to make it more sustainable. So we are, by this forum, reiterating our call to the government and National Health Insurance Scheme to address this issue of indebtedness with a sense of urgent priority that it deserves. There is a continued to the health system. There's a lot of confidence. Providers are reeling under this indebtedness, and there must be significant and substantial intervention to address these challenges.
Well, thanks so much.
We cannot postpone health. We must address this emergency crisis.
Thank you very much for speaking to us. I have been speaking with Dr. Peter Yeboah, and he is the Executive Director, Christian Health Association of Ghana, Chag. This is still Midday Live. Let's do some other stories. And Ochehini Osajifo Amwetia Oferipinion has dismissed claims that Galamsey operators are digging under the palace of Chebi in the eastern region. He further advised chiefs and politicians who are in the Galamsey business to extend a conniving and conniving with foreigners to desist from it to preserve the environment for future generations. The full interview will be aired after Midday Live at 13 hours GMT today.
The Ochihini Osajifo Amweti of Firipini has been criticized for looking on as illegal miners destroy water bodies and lands in the Achimebwakwa state. Osajifo Amweti of Firipini has also been accused of engaging in Galamsey and even allowing Galamsey operators to mine beneath his palace. Speaking in an exclusive interview on TV3's Hot Issues to be aired on Saturday, April 22 at 1 p.m., the Achimebwakwa overlord rubbish allegations that he condones Galamsey.
People were saying that the palace has been dug. Go around or here. If I wanted to do mining, I'll take my land. I don't need to ask anybody. And go to Mineral Commission and secure proper license to do proper mining. Why would I turn around and steal my land to engage in such dirt? Galamsey.
The news team took a tour around the palace of Osajifo Amweti of Firipini to ascertain the truth of the allegations. The east of the palace is a walkway and also shared a wall with other residents, which makes it impossible for Galamsey activities to be undertaken there without residents noticing. The west wing is the side of the main street that leads to the Chebi funeral grounds as well as the Ghana Water Company pump station. The southern wing of the palace, which has the back gate, is adjacent to the Dr. J.B. Danko Street. Osajifo Amweti of Firipini, who was optimistic the recent fight against illegal mining known as Galamsey will be successful, stressed the need to preserve the environment for future generations.
Their question, as you hear people say, what should they do if they don't do Galamsey? What were they doing before? We need to make sure that we can plant trees and do something. Short gain profits and destroying the future of our children.
Meanwhile, the 3-week ultimatum by the land minister ends on Wednesday, April 19, and government says it would develop a framework to ensure that Ghanaians in small-scale mining operate under regulation.
Well, stay tuned and watch the full interview right after Midday Live. Now, we have sports and Nana Kojo standing by with details.
Thank you very much, AC Binewa. Now time to run through the latest sports update for you, where reappointed Ghana coach Kwesi Appiah arrived home on Friday to a rousing welcome. The 56-year-old was met on arrival by officials of the Ghana Football Association, hordes of journalists and supporter groups.
Appiah agreed a 2-year contract on his reappointment. He was selected last month after beating strong competition from Hugo Bruce and Willie Sanol. When Appiah begins work on May 1, it will be his second stint in charge of Black Stars after handling the team from 2012 until 2014. Since leaving the Black Stars following a poor World Cup campaign, he has been coaching Sudanese side Al Hatoum. Appiah, who has 5 games coming up in 3 months, is confident the overwhelming backing by Ghanaians is enough to inspire him to success.
I always believe, the voice of the people is always the voice of God, giving me the second chance, to coach the national team. I will do the best that I can, but I can never do it without your help. I will need the support and prayers of every Ghanaian, to make our Black Stars, proud and big again. This is my motherland, and every Ghanaian would love to be at home and make sure he does what he can to help his nation. I always had this belief that you can never say never, especially when it comes to coaching. You always have to make your mind open, and when the opportunity comes, you take it.
His first assignment will be in June when he plays Ethiopia in the 2019 Africa Cup of Nations qualifiers. Then 2 international friendlies against Mexico and the USA on June 28 and July 1 respectively. Appiah will also assemble a home-based side to face Burkina Faso in a 2018 CHAN final round qualifier over 2 legs.
Meanwhile, Ghana currently have just a single point from their 2 games so far in World Cup qualifiers, leaving them 5 points behind league leaders Egypt. With Appiah's return, journalists are hoping that Ghana could begin to regain the form they showed in qualifying to the 2014 FIFA World Cup in Brazil.
That second comings can be really difficult. A lot of people have said it, and there are examples to show. But if we can give him the support, I don't know why he's unable to make it. For all the time that we have won the Nations Cup, it had to be a Ghanaian coach. So if he is here and he can make a difference, why not? Because the foreigners we give all the opportunities to. They take the big money. At the end of the day, the story is still the same. We get to the final, we don't win it. What if we kept faith in the Ghanaian and we push them all the way? It will change a lot, even for most of these players, the former players, to know that, you know, I have the support of the nation. Whatever I want to do, I should do it. So am I in support? Totally.
Coming back at a very perfect time. This is a period that is not be under pressure to perform because the Black Stars are not in any tense mood to qualify for the World Cup in the first place, and secondly, the African Cup of Nations qualifies is some months to come, and we are not in a very tough group as you might have seen it. And secondly, this is a time that he's coming, having gathered a lot of the things said behind him while staying back in Sudan. I think he must have learned some of the lessons that people do not necessarily get the second opportunity. So once you have it, you must make a very good use of it. And so to me, it's a very best opportunity and perfect timing for him to come back to the team.
He has a second chance. It works out for both parties. He needs to prove to us that he's improved and he can do this job. And as a people, we need to prove to him that we are ready to give him the support and backing if he will succeed.
The majority leader in Parliament, Honorable Chairman Sambonsu, has revealed that the Parliamentary Select Committee on Mines and Energy has instructed the Ghana National Petroleum Corporation to withdraw their sponsorship package for the Black Stars. The Black Stars of Ghana landed a sponsorship deal with GMPC in 2013, with the company pledging $3 million over 5 years. According to Honorable Mensa Bonsu, who was speaking to Kumasi-based radio station in Shra FM, the committee is not ready to approve the amount in their GMPC budget slated for the Black Stars. The GFA, Ghana Football Association, he says, can make a case at the presidency if they want government to pay the coach of the Black Stars or sponsor the team. He further went on to state that GMPC cannot just be using government funds to sponsor supporters of the Black Stars, fat salaries for coaches, and think that is the way to go. But TV3 Sports checks at the Ministry of Youth and Sports suggest they have not received any notification to that effect.
And here in Ghana, embattled comedian DKD says he will tone down on 7 vulgar and offensive jokes to his audience. The comedian's jokes at the Easter comedy show was described by former First Lady Nana Akufo-Addo Rawlings as offensive and boring. DKD consider the comments too harsh. Owusu finds out.
Nana Akufo-Addo Rawlings' comment exposed the comedian to a lot of verbal jabs. Were her comments too harsh for DKB?
I'm not going to say it was harsh or it was gentle. I take it in full faith because it's a feedback she's giving me, and everybody has various degrees of describing their feedback, so I take it in good faith.
In any way going to have any impact on your brand?
It depends on how you handle it. If you try fighting back, that's when it will have an impact on your brand. But if you accept it, people get to know, oh, okay, so he's human after all. People make mistakes. And also your good works will speak for you. It's just that, what it comes with, the public ridicule, the rejection, the betrayal, exposing me for insult and all of that is the very painful bit. Some few people are making it look like I've not been good before.
DKB admits serving the wrong joke to the wrong audience. The lead comedian intends toning down on serving his audience vulgar jokes.
I'm serving the people, so whatever they say is what I'll work on. So right now, the vulgarity I'll tone down.
Social media has been buzzing with reactions since the former First Lady's comments. Some of the verdicts come to the comedian as very depressing.
Let's look at the comments that you have received so far. Which of them was the most hard-hitting one?
It's a challenge a lot. Somebody said, if me with my unfunny and boring self can be the king of comedy, then he can be Superman. Yeah, somebody too said, who even made me king of comedy? I don't deserve, I'm a rubbish performer. And most of the comments were in one direction, saying that finally he has fallen. Yes.
And that's all we have for you by way of news this afternoon. Thanks so much for making time to watch Midday Live. My name is AC Benewanyame.